Good day, my name is Christelle from Frans, the Klerk, Independent Technical Analyst. Henny had the first question and he wanted us to look at PayPal and Square. Now, Henny, both these graphs almost look very similar. So the pattern and the warning, although the possible optimism, are very similar. Now, at the moment, I'm going to draw that for you. We've got a possible double top formation, and I say possible because the warning of this formation will only be confirmed when that strong support, that neckline that holds this possible double top in place, changes into a resistance, and that is waiting at around $234.46. Now, what is a double top? It's two consecutive tops where resistance was found at almost the same level. Now, a double top, head and shoulder, and triple top formation, all three of them usually appear at the top of the rally and warns an investor to possibly take profit. What makes this very difficult is the fact that my stochastic is already oversold. What does that mean? The probability of the instrument to bounce to higher levels are there. However, I do not have a positive divergence yet. What does that mean? That blue line, the K line, within the stochastic indicator has to break upwards through the orange line to confirm the divergence. And that makes the probability of a bounce to higher levels even higher. That red line obviously represents our 40-week moving average. And these are weekly graphs, which means every candle represents the action of that week. Now, at the moment, we're sitting on a Wednesday evening or a Thursday morning. That candle is not closed in the US yet. It will only be on Friday night when that candle will be closed. But what we can see, though, Henny, is that for the last 2 weeks, now maybe we need to zoom that in for you a little bit. The last 2 weeks, these long tails at the bottom of the candles imply that there were buyers that really started to protect the price action and bought the dips, which means there is a little bit of optimism, but keep in mind we are below that 40-week moving average, which tells me the long-term sentiment towards PayPal has now changed to negative. I've got this possible double top formation that might play out. And yes, if you want to make use of the oversold position, I would wait for that 40-week moving average to change into a support first. And that is waiting at $267.92. Below the strong neckline and that support there around 234.45, that neckline below that level, that double top formation can take the share. It's the length of the target, it's the length of either the right or the left hoop projected downwards from the neckline can take PayPal possibly to $158 should the full formation play out. Now, we had quite a few viewers asking about Sibanye, Stillwater. Tracy did, Khonse, as well as Harvey. Now, at the moment, we've got this possible, and I want to draw that for you as well, left shoulder, head, and right shoulder. And yeah, I shouldn't say possible because this head and shoulder formation was confirmed. And that obviously warning, we saw the sell-off. And now the big question is how low can it go? The full length of this head projected downwards from the neckline where the head and shoulder formation was confirmed can take Sibanye possibly to around 40 Rand, which means I've got to another 6 Rand possibly where this formation can take the share price to should the full formation play out. However, we've got an oversold stochastic and a positive divergence, which means the probability of the instrument to bounce is higher. And for the last 2 weeks, and remember again, this last doji candle or Arami candle, and that appears in the real body of the preceding candle, is not finished yet. So by Friday's close, if this candle has kept that support of 47.40 in place, and that strong resistance of 50 Rand 47 has changed into a support, there can be a possible turnaround opportunity for Sibanye again to higher levels. We can see previously, even if we go back here to October and September of 2020, these levels are strong support levels, 44.60 for Sibanye. So should there be enough buyers, and we know they finished their share buyback program is finished, but should there be enough buyers in this market to continue to protect that 44.64 level, we can see possibly higher levels on Sibanye. But the confirmation of optimism, ladies and gentlemen, will only be above 50 Rand 47, which is the high of last week's candle. And take note, we are below that 40 week. We are below that 40 week, which tells us the long-term sentiment is negative. So for the short-term traders, change that to a 20-week moving average and see where is that level waiting for us. And take note how close that is to the neckline. And you can even take it low, 57.44, even a 10-week moving average, to see when will I have confirmation of optimism. And sometimes it's difficult because as technical analysts, we want to wait for confirmation before we buy a share. So sometimes we will buy it at a higher level than where the current share price is trading. Fumani wanted us to look at Sappi, a share that's been playing around for a little bit. There was great optimism at some stage, and then it almost looked like its lower highs were visible and that it was losing steam. But at the moment, Fumani, we can see the stochastic has broken upwards. Look at that. My blue line has broken upwards from my orange line, and that in not even oversold territory. That was when my stochastic was sitting around at 27. So that is that is very optimistic, and that tells us that the buyers were keen to buy the dips here. Now I've got two contradicting formations here. The one is my possible inverse head and shoulder, with the left shoulder, massive head, and a possible right shoulder here, assuming there'll be enough buyers to take it to that neckline and start to change that level. I'll give you that exact level around a 52.20 into a support. But we also have a negative formation here of a possible inverse cup and handle, where we've got the cup and possible handle. So when the share starts to trade below this 36 Rand 70 level, the negativity around this inverse cup and handle formation will be confirmed, which can take the share a lot lower. So let's take the worst target will be the length of the cup projected downwards from the neckline where the formation will be confirmed, can take Sappi possibly back to 22 Rand 66. Now, so what do you do now? You can either make use of the confirmation on the stochastic, or you can wait for previous resistance levels to change into a support. And for me, the strongest one is that red line, the 40-week moving average. And that is waiting at 43 Rand and 2 cents. Above 43 Rand and 2 cents, we can say, hey, the long-term sentiment towards the share has changed to positive. But also take note, this tail at the top of that candle almost tested that 40-week moving average and kept it a resistance. And that can be seen, Fumani, as a possible technical goodbye kiss, which means it tested that level. There was not enough buyers to change it into support. And now it's saying, goodbye, Irene, I'm pulling lower and maybe going back to that neckline. Now, the negativity around this inverse cup and handle formation will only be wiped off the table when the highest part of the handle changes into a support, and that is waiting there at 45 Rand 50, and that is the gravestone doji candle of the 12th of July 2021. So above that level, everybody can take a sigh of relief and know that that inverse cup and handle formation has become obsolete. But above that 40-week moving average, then maybe we can start to nibble on the share. Because this inverse head and shoulder formation is telling us we can see the share maybe back in the future at around 70 Rand. And if we look at, the previous patterns on Sappi, I mean, this is a share that had strong resistance around 104 Rand back in 2018. Johan wanted us to look at Tiger Brands. Johan, one of my favorite shares on this market at the moment is Tiger Brands. Why? Because if you look at all the food retailers or producers, Tiger Brands is almost the only one that hasn't had a decent rally yet. Why do I like this share? One, there is a beautiful cup and handle formation possibly in the making. Every time the share has pulled back, the support levels were a little bit higher than the previous time. So I'm sitting here with higher lows. The share has stopped making lows here since that, and I'll give you that exact week of the 6th of September 2021. I've got a nice oversold stochastic. I've got a blue line that is breaking upwards through an orange line, tells me it's a positive divergence. So should last week's high, and let's talk about last week's candle, that was a clear spinning candle. It tells us indecision. It tells us the buyers were not sure whether they want to take this share higher or whether they want to take it lower. I also have a beautiful tweezer bottom here. What does that mean? 2 consecutive candles where the share found support at almost the same levels at the low after a descent. So a tweezer bottom, and since that week of the tweezer bottom, every time the share has pulled back, the lows are a little bit higher, little bit higher, little bit higher. What does that tell us? Every time the buyers are stronger to protect the share almost on every pullback to make sure that it doesn't go and test even that previous support level, and that is seen as positive. So at the moment we are sitting here with a bullish engulfing candle, and if last week's high of 190 Rand 35 starts to change into a support, optimism will be confirmed for Tiger Brands, unless you want to nibble it on the basis of this bullish, in the making, work in progress, bullish engulfing candle. Obviously, what is the strong support that you can use? 174.88 as a protection level or a stop loss. Make sure you have a look at your average true range indicator to give the share enough breathing space if that level is maybe too tight. And if I'm really, really optimistic, and sometimes our patience will take us there, the full target, Johan, of this cup and handle formation is obviously the length of the cup projected upwards from the handle can take it back to 293.71. And I'll let you in on a little secret. There's a window on Tiger Brands on a weekly graph going back to February 2018 between 409 Rand 39 and 416 Rand. What does that mean? That second level, I just want to check that. 438.99, excuse me. What does that mean? That means, assuming that share remains listed, at some stage, Tiger Brands has to go back and trade at those levels in order to close that window, especially on a weekly graph. Then the weight of it is so much heavier.